In college football, most coaches like to lay low and stay out of the headlines, but there's one coach who never shied away from any of the spotlight. For over 20 years, Lane Kiffin has been one of the most polarizing and controversial figures in the NCAA. After getting an unorthodox start, he quickly found his footing, then bounced around from job to job, leaving his mark everywhere he went, whether it was good or bad. But he also developed a reputation of burning bridges. On November 30th, 2025, in the middle of a record-setting season, Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss to go coach one of their rivals at LSU, and just like that, Ole Miss was added to the list of bridges that Lane Kiffin has burned. The decision was met with mixed reviews, with many people saying that he was just as bad as the coach that he was replacing, and today we're going to do a full deep dive on the entire career of Lane Kiffin to see if that's true and to find out, is he really a villain or is he a necessary evil in college football?
You have done almost everything contrary to the way others suggest you should do it. What do you think when you hear that, Lane?
It's a better way to live, you know? I see all these coaches growing up and being around them, and they're miserable. They're miserable human beings. It's because there's so much pressure and they're never themselves.
Lane Kiffin was born May 9th, 1975 in Lincoln, Nebraska. His father was a legendary defensive coordinator, Monty Kiffin, who was the creator of the infamous Tampa 2 style defense and was leader of the ferocious Buccaneers defense that won the Super Bowl in 2003. He played quarterback for Fresno State from 1994 to 1997, mostly being a backup. In 1997, as a senior, he was losing his spot to freshman quarterback David Carr, who would go on to be a #1 pick in the NFL, and Lane wasn't happy about it. According to Carr, Kiffin was so upset that in one practice, he quit the team and became a coach in the same day.
He does not agree with me on the facts of this story, but these are 100% true.
Yeah.
I was in, and I was like the 5th string quarterback when I showed up as a freshman. And you start getting reps because you're the young guy. Like, we know what this guy can do. So they give the young guys some reps to kind of bump them up. So I started moving up the thing. I was like 3rd, and Lane was 3rd.
Oh,
Lane
really?
didn't like that. So he gets a little upset. We're roommates. Now we're cool. I love Lane.
Yeah.
We go out to practice, supposed to be in full pads. I come out. I'm in full pads. Lane is in shorts and t-shirt, right, carrying his helmet. Everybody else in the entire team has full pads on. He has shorts and a t-shirt on. We get out to the field, and Lane's ready. He knows what he's doing, right? And Jeff looks straight past me, Tedford, looks at Lane. Lane, what are you doing? With some expletives in there.
Yeah.
And Lane's like, you know what? I just figured I don't need to dress out fully because you're going to give all my reps to Dave.
Oh, you can't do that.
But he did. We did do that. So they start screaming at each other.
Yeah.
He kicks him off the field. Lane's like, fine, I quit, right? So he quits. He goes into the locker room, and he comes jogging back out with a polo on.
Oh, so he got...
I'm like, what happened inside? And Jeff goes, oh, we called his dad. We called Monty. And Monty said, you're not effing quitting. Get back out there. Like, I don't care what capacity. So Lane's like, fine, I'll coach with you. So they made him assistant wide receiver coach that day. That's when the coaching career began.
After he graduated from Fresno State in 1998, he would go on to become the graduate assistant coach at Colorado State. He would continue to rise through the ranks as a coach, becoming a defensive quality control coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2000, then, a year later, being hired by USC's head coach Pete Carroll to be the team's tight end coach. By 2004, he worked his way all the way up to being USC's offensive coordinator, and Kiffin was the head of a record-setting USC offense with LenDale White, Dwayne Jarrett, and the 04 and 05 Heisman winners Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. In 04, USC won the national championship versus Oklahoma, but in 05, they lost the national championship in a memorable game to Vince Young and the Texas Longhorns. After another successful season in 2006, where USC won the Rose Bowl versus Michigan, Lane Kiffin was being considered an offensive genius and was making a name for himself in the coaching world after helping guide USC to a record of 23-3 as an offensive coordinator, and soon the NFL would have their eyes on him. On January 23, 2007, 3 weeks after USC's Rose Bowl win, it was announced that Lane Kiffin was hired as the new coach of the Oakland Raiders. At 31 years old, Kiffin became the youngest coach in modern NFL history. The Raiders owner, Al Davis, had a history of hiring young and up-and-coming coaches including John Madden, Mike Shanahan, and John Gruden, who were all hired in their early 30s and all went on to be Super Bowl winning coaches. So there were high hopes for Lane Kiffin, who was taking over a Raiders team that was 2-14 the year before. However, it wouldn't take long for tension to build between Kiffin and owner Al Davis. On April 28, 2007, the Raiders would have the first pick of the NFL draft. This was one of the most stacked draft classes of all time, with players like Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Willis, Marshawn Lynch, and Darrelle Revis, who are all in the Hall of Fame other than Peterson, who will be eligible in 2027, and Lynch. Yet, with the first pick, the Raiders would select LSU quarterback Jamarcus Russell, which came as a surprise to nobody. This pick was all Al Davis's decision, and Lane Kiffin really resented the pick, but more on that in a little bit. Just 2 days after the Raiders drafted Jamarcus Russell to be their quarterback, Lane Kiffin would make a move that would change NFL history. During that offseason, Kiffin was holding offseason workouts, and one player that never showed up was their star receiver, Randy Moss, who people already thought had one foot out of the door in Oakland. Kiffin took this as Moss not wanting to be in town, and he pushed to get rid of him, so on April 30th, he traded him to the New England Patriots for a 4th round draft pick, saying it was the best scenario for the team. He wanted to trade him for a 6th round pick, and that's when Al Davis had to step in because he was, quote, aghast at the price. He accused Patriots coach Bill Belichick of taking advantage of Kiffin and his assistant because he knew they were inexperienced. Davis would step in and up the price from a 6th round pick to a 4th round pick, which is still really cheap for Randy Moss, as we all saw. And now, Lane Kiffin was about to take the Raiders, minus Randy Moss, into the 2007 season. In Kiffin's first season as a Raiders coach, he started off 2-2 in his first 4 games before losing 10 of the last 12 games, finishing 4-12 on the year. Before his first season ended, there were already rumors that he was interested in going back to college to coach, reportedly listening to offers from both the University of Arkansas and UCLA, which, let me remind you, this was halfway through his first season as the Raiders coach. He, of course, later came out and denied this. Apparently, owner Al Davis got wind of Lane Kiffin poking his head back into college, and he wasn't buying the denial. Add that to the fact that Kiffin reportedly fired defensive coordinator Rob Ryan on January 1st in an attempt to bring in his father Monty Kiffin, which Al Davis never gave him consent to do. So a few weeks later, on January 24th, it was announced that Rob Ryan actually wasn't going anywhere. All of this together clearly ticked Al Davis off. You have to think about it. He took a chance on a young Lane Kiffin who came from college and had no head coaching experience, so he was expecting some loyalty, but instead, he's hearing that Kiffin is taking other job offers a few months into his gig, and he's trying to dismiss Davis' staff members behind his back. Normally, coaches can make the decision to hire and fire coordinators, but Al Davis was notoriously someone who wanted full control of team decisions. This led to a report from ESPN's Chris Martenson saying that Al Davis allegedly wrote Lane Kiffin a letter of resignation in the end of January that Kiffin refused to sign, meaning that going into the 2008 season, he would remain the coach of the Raiders, at least for the time being. On September 8, 2008, in the very first game of the season, the Raiders would get blown out by the Denver Broncos at home 41-14 on a Monday Night Football game. After the game, Kiffin was asked what went wrong in the game, and he responded by throwing Rob Ryan and Al Davis under the bus, saying Rob and the owner were always in communication about defensive game plans and he just stays out of it. This led Al Davis to write a letter to Kiffin on September 12th, in short, basically telling him to stop trying to publicly embarrass the Raiders organization and that his conduct was detrimental to the team. Davis would end his letter with a warning, saying that if he continues to violate the contract, then he'll be terminated for a cause. Then, on September 30th, 4 games into the season, after losing back-to-back games to the Bills then the Chargers, and with the Raiders sitting at 1-3 on the year, having a record of 5-15 since Kiffin joined the Raiders, Al Davis made a call letting him know that he was fired. Then, in a never-before-seen move, Al Davis held a 50-minute press conference explaining why he fired Kiffin using an overhead projector. In this press conference, Davis touched on a number of things. He accused Kiffin of lying on multiple occasions. He said that he had a bad attitude towards people and he was causing division among the staff. A reporter asked Davis if he feels like he could have won with Kiffin and why he would fire him, and Davis pretty much summed up why he let Kiffin go.
Would you have won with Lane Kiffin? And if you think you might have, why would you fire him over personality conflict?
Well, it's not a personality conflict. It's flat out accusation lying. bringing disgrace to the organization. I didn't think I could lose necessarily with Lane, but I didn't think I can win anymore based on what he's done to the staff and what he's done to the defense and what he's done to some of the assistants. If I thought so, I probably would have stayed with it, but it had nothing to do with winning. It had to do with personality. It's the first time I've ever let anyone go based on what I call just a flat-out liar.
This was a long press conference, but there's two main things I want to highlight here. One was that he fired Kiffin for a cause, which means he was fired for serious misconduct, which in this case was insubordination and conduct detrimental to the team. This was important because in a for-cause termination, you don't get the rest of your contract, which in this case, Kiffin was owed $2.6 million. Al Davis mentions that when he fired him, the first thing Kiffin asked about was the pay. He also insinuated that he might have been self-sabotaging, trying to get fired on purpose, thinking that he was still going to get the rest of his contract.
This morning, I called Lane and told him that he no longer is the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, and I'm dismissing him with cause, and just couldn't go on much longer with the what I would call propaganda, the lying that had been going on for weeks and months and a year and time. And he had a few questions. He says, does that mean I don't get paid? I said, that's what I'm saying to you. The first question he asked me when I said you're going to be fired or you're being relieved for cause, are you going to pay me? First question. And there are a lot of people who believe that in the organization that he wanted to be fired, but he wanted to be paid. But when we went to training camp, someone, somewhere, gave him the idea that he could get out of his job and still get paid. And that's what he was doing. He was every day harping, we don't do this, we don't do that, and attacking players publicly, agents calling me, what's going on? And one agent did call him and challenged him that this can't go on, what you're doing to my client. Just can't go on.
This is where Al Davis's experience as an owner beat the youth of Lane Kiffin, because Lane filed a grievance saying that he was fired without cause, but remember, before Davis fired Kiffin, he sent him that letter, which was a warning, a documented warning. The NFL looked at that, and in 2010, they denied the grievance, saying that he made comments against the Raiders organization which violated his contract, which he was warned against. The second thing from the press conference I want to highlight, remember when I said the Raiders drafted Jamarcus Russell #1 in the 2007 draft, and Lane Kiffin resented Al Davis for making that pick? Well, Davis addressed that.
I realize that you did not want to draft Jamarcus Russell. He is a great player. Get over it and coach this team on the field. That is what you were hired to do. We can win with this team. Now, why did I say that? I said it because that was the battle at the draft. My first draft with him, about 7 days before the draft, he came to me and he didn't think we should draft Jamarcus. And I told him we were going to draft Jamarcus. He had other ideas.
In 2016, Lane revealed what the other ideas were when he said that he wanted future All-Pro Calvin Johnson, aka Megatron, instead of Jamarcus Russell. Kiffin would also say that he wanted to sign free agent Jeff Garcia, who said he wanted to come to Oakland in the first place since it was in the Bay Area, which is where he's from. Kiffin said he begged Al Davis to make these moves, but he refused, and I'm gonna say, if it really happened like this, Davis may have been right about everything else, but Kiffin was right about this one. Jeff Garcia played pretty well that season, and Calvin Johnson ended up being a Hall of Famer, while Jamarcus Russell only lasted 3 years total in the NFL. But at the same time, Al Davis also has a point. He didn't hire Kiffin to tell him how to run the team. He hired him to coach the players that were in the locker room. Davis already had a well-known reputation as someone who likes to take full control of the team's operations, and if I knew that, I'm sure Lane Kiffin knew that. He was hired in January 2007 and fired September 2008. Can you believe all of this happened in about a year and a half? Publicly questioning someone who gave you a chance to coach in the NFL when nobody else did wasn't his best choice. and it would be the beginning of a lot of questionable decisions from Kiffin.
I'm really looking forward to embracing some of the great traditions at University of Tennessee. For instance, the Vol Walk, running through the tee, singing Rocky Top all night long after we beat Florida next year. It's going to be a blast.
On December 1st, 2008, Kiffin was out of a job for 2 months before being hired by the University of Tennessee to be their head coach starting in the 2009 season. He came to Tennessee and he shook the table immediately. He came in and right away guaranteed a win against their SEC rivals, the Florida Gators, and a few weeks later in February, during a signing day breakfast celebration at the Knoxville Convention Center, Lane Kiffin took the mic, and it looked like he got caught up in the moment because he took shots at Florida head coach Urban Meyer and accused him of cheating by calling 4-star recruit and Florida native Nikese Richardson while he was visiting the Tennessee campus, which Lane thought was a violation.
This is a recruiting violation. I'm going to turn Florida in right here in front of you. But as Nikese was here on campus, his phone keeps ringing. And so one of our coaches is sitting in the meeting with him. He says, "Who's that?" And he looks at the phone and says, "Urban Meyer." Okay? Just so you know, when a recruit's on another campus, you can't call a recruit on another campus. But I love the fact that Urban had to cheat and still didn't get him. It's a great job by Eddie Graham.
This sent the crowd into a frenzy, but what he said was completely wrong. He made these comments at breakfast, and by lunch, the SEC commissioner put out a statement saying that not only was the phone call that Kiffin mentioned completely legal, but him publicly criticizing Urban Meyer was what was actually against the rules. Florida's athletic director came out and demanded an apology, and Lane actually came out and gave one, saying that his comments were only meant to excite the crowd. Just a month later, in March, Kiffin was heavily recruiting high school star wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey, who narrowed his choices down to South Carolina, USC, and Tennessee. The morning of signing day, Kiffin made a recruiting call to Jeffrey, and allegedly, Kiffin, in a last-ditch effort to convince him to come to Tennessee, told Jeffrey that if he chose to go to University of South Carolina, he would end up pumping gas for the rest of his life, like all the other South Carolina natives that chose to go there. Jeffrey is from South Carolina, so I'm not sure what Kiffin thought his response to that was going to be, but it led to him signing with South Carolina. Kiffin, of course, denied these comments, but Jeffrey's high school coach said that the call was on speakerphone and he heard the whole entire thing. Jeffrey himself says that it was definitely said, but he didn't confirm nor deny who said it.
Just kind of off that, I feel like we got to touch on the potentially Lane Kiffin comments. Lane Kiffin told him he would be pumping gas if he went to South Carolina. Lane Kiffin was coaching at Tennessee. Could have been a reason why he left for the NFL early. Prove to Lane Kiffin, I'm not pumping gas. I'm cashing checks.
Yeah.
So what happened with that? Did that really happen? Did Lane Kiffin actually say it?
I never talked about this story, honestly. I would say that I know Coach Kiffin get a lot of slack for a lot of things. It was a lot of voices on the phone call. I could say that. Because he was coaching at Tennessee at the time, and they was recruiting me heavily. All the way up until I signed the signing day letter. So they still was calling me. But I'm not sure if he said it. My honest opinion, he took the slack because he's the head coach. I would say I think his brother-in-law said it.
That's fair.
So that was said to you, hey, you go to South Carolina, you'll be pumping gas.
Because Lane Kiffin never been to South Carolina before, so that's why I said I believe his brother-in-law. But he's on the phone with the call, so it's like you said it. So I didn't report that or say it. It was somebody else who was with me that told someone that story. I just never, I'm like, oh, I'm going to South Carolina. I'm not going to Tennessee. I feel like that was a slap in the face. Like, I'm not going, like, there's no need for us to talk and have a conversation. I'm like, I just thought about all the people that went to South Carolina that is from South Carolina. It don't have to be nothing about football. I just took that. I'm like, that was a pride. I'm like, yo, that's a slap in the face. Like, what?
Alshon Jeffrey never ended up pumping gas, to my knowledge, and he got drafted in 2012 and won a Super Bowl in 2018 with the Eagles, where he caught a touchdown pass. Lane Kiffin had his eyes set on the upcoming season, and with all the drama he stirred up before a game was even played, and all the talking he's done, you just knew Tennessee was about to have a huge season. Well, they didn't. They finished 7-6, going 4-4 in SEC play. And if you're wondering, no, they didn't beat Florida. They did make it to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, but they got blown out by Virginia Tech 37-14 on New Year's Eve. Then, less than 2 weeks later, On the evening of January 12, 2010, Lane Kiffin shocked all of college football when it was announced that after just one season, he was leaving Tennessee to go back to USC to be their new head coach. He held the press conference at Tennessee to say his goodbyes. Now hold on, I just want to pause it right here because look, you're gonna see this guy pull a chair out for Kiffin to have a seat, but he turns around and tells him, "Nah, I'm good." So him not wanting to even have a seat probably lets you know that this isn't gonna take long, but let's see.
Thanks for coming, guys. This was not an easy decision. This was something that happened very quick. A decision that myself and my family made. And we've been here 14 months. The support has been unbelievable here. I really believe that this is probably the only place that I would have left here to go, was to go to Southern Cal. And there's so many people to thank, so I'm just going to be real generic and say I'm very thankful to all the Tennessee people and the way they welcome myself and my family. And it's been an exciting time. And I know that I can walk out here and say this, that we've been here for 14 months, and there's not one day that I didn't give everything I had to the Tennessee football program. And I know, just leaving that team room and looking around and the players coming in on this roster and what's going on in their development, that we're leaving here 14 months later a lot better team than we were 14 months ago. So I appreciate you guys coming, and thanks again for all your support.
Hey, Lane, out of respect to the Tennessee fans, you answered 3 questions for us. Been good luck.
What's the speaker recruiting, Lane?
Not even 60 seconds. He's leaving Tennessee for another school, mid-contract, in the middle of the night, and he couldn't even dedicate a full minute to the fans and media, and didn't want to answer any questions. Well, at least he waited till after the bowl game, I guess. Right after the news came out, Tennessee fans weren't shy about letting the world know how they felt when they would, quote, riot that same night.
There's better coaches out there. There's better coaches out there. There's better coaches out there. Bill Former, the great big pumpkin, he was one of the great coaches because he committed with us. Whether we win, whether we lost, whatever, he was with us to the end.
Okay, Al Davis was actually right. I can't believe Al Davis was actually right about this. I mean, our recruiting class is down the drain. We don't have nothing. It's bad.
Look, as UT students, we're all in this together, and we are mad together, and we will win, we will lose together. But Lane Kiffin and people will not. And that's fuck you, Kiffin! We don't need him anyway. We don't want him.
This is how mature people act when they're football coaches.
Hey, we have stuff to say.
We walk around and riot. Fulmer wouldn't have done this.
So what's the plan with everybody?
You know what the plan is? The plan is no one go to class. No one go to class. We want to go in there, be wildly immature about this, and as much as we possibly can. We're having an all-night dance-off. Flash raid. That's the plan. All-night dance-off. Library. Everybody take up your clothes and run. Yeah.
I don't think there is a plan. We'll get there. We'll get there.
If you check back in about 15 minutes, we might have a plan.
What do you all have to say about
That's there you go. That's all.
Tennessee's athletic director, Mike Hamilton, when asked about Kiffin's time at Tennessee, he described it with just one word: brief. Meanwhile, across the country, Lane Kiffin was being introduced as USC's head coach, taking over for his former mentor, Pete Carroll, who took a job in the NFL. In the conference, one of the first things he mentioned was that he was dedicated to running a clean, disciplined program.
One thing that we're going to do is have a dedication to run an extremely clean, disciplined program. And that will start from today. and we'll continue that through that the whole time that we're here.
This was ironic because this was Kiffin's first year as a head coach, but drama from his coordinator days at USC finally reared its head and made him get off to a rough start.
The NCAA has come down hard on Southern California following a 4-year investigation of the school. The penalties include a 2-year football postseason ban and a loss of 30 football scholarships. In its report Thursday, the NCAA cited USC for a lack of institutional control, which detailed numerous violations primarily involving Heisman Trophy-winning tailback Reggie Bush and men's basketball player O.J. Mayo. The NCAA found that Bush, identified in the report as a former football student-athlete, was ineligible beginning at least by December 2004 and through the 2005 season. The violations took place under former coach Pete Carroll, who led USC to 7 straight Pac-10 titles and 2 national championships in the past decade. Carroll left the school for the NFL's Seattle Seahawks in January. While the bowl ban is the most damaging to new coach Lane Kiffin, USC will lose 30 scholarships over a 3-year period, 10 annually, from 2011 to 2013. The Trojans received 4 years of probation. John Klobuchar, The Associated Press.
Back in 2006, right before Lane Kiffin left to go coach the NFL, it was reported that Reggie Bush, USC's best player in 2004 and 2005, was receiving improper benefits when he allegedly received gifts from agents starting at least in December 2004 all the way through the 2005 season, which would have made him an ineligible player during that time period if true, so an investigation would begin. In January 2010, Lane Kiffin became the coach of USC, but the investigation was still ongoing, and by June 2010, the case finally came to a close, and the NCAA gave USC some of the harshest penalties that college football has ever seen. Since the improper benefits started in December 2004, they had to forfeit the last 2 games of the 2004 season, including their national championship victory, then all of their wins from 2005, and Reggie Bush had to give his Heisman back. More importantly, USC was banned from bowl games for the upcoming 2010 and 2011 season, on top of them losing 30 total scholarships for the next 3 seasons. Because of all these sanctions, the NCAA ruled that any juniors and seniors at USC could transfer to another school without losing any eligibility, which led to several players transferring to different schools before the start of the 2010 season. Needless to say, Lane Kiffin was having a rough start to his dream job at USC before a game was ever played. In 2010, he would lead his team to an 8-5 record, and in 2011, they would see major improvement going 10-2, even though they still couldn't play in any bowls. Surprisingly, to this point, Lane Kiffin's time at USC has been pretty quiet and drama-free. It's as if he finally matured and his troublemaking ways were behind him. And then, the 2012 season came around, and for the first time, he became a voting member of the USA Today Coaches Poll. He would make his first vote in the preseason, then tell reporters that he would never vote USC at number 1, just for USA Today to reveal to the public that he actually did vote for USC at number 1. It's not that his vote was wrong, but USA Today felt like he was putting out misleading information, lying about his vote, which is why they exposed him. Kiffin, possibly from being fed up, or possibly just from embarrassment from being exposed, decided that he didn't want to have a vote anymore, so that ended quickly. Then, 2 months later, on November 3rd, in a game where USC lost to Oregon, a student manager was caught deflating 5 different footballs that USC was to use in the game.
At some point before kickoff on Saturday, a USC student manager slightly deflated some of the footballs that the Trojans were going to use on offense. In college football, each team actually supplies their own footballs for use when they're on offense, but those balls need to be inflated to a certain level. A slightly underinflated ball can be easier to catch and throw. The referees noticed 3 of the footballs before the game, but the Trojans played with 2 deflated balls during the first half before those were filled back up at halftime. A USC student manager has been fired. The Trojans fined $25,000
this past weekend. So, Jay, we've got both here, inflated, deflated. So I'll hold the inflated one, but talk about why this might be a little bit easier for the players to deal with in a game.
And a ball that's slightly deflated is softer, as you can see here, you know, and when it's softer, it doesn't bounce off your hands. It makes it a little bit easier to catch. It also allows you to have a little better grip on it to throw the ball, too. But we're talking minute details or really small differences.
But differences that could have helped Matt Barkley complete some of these first half touchdown passes.
The student manager who allegedly deflated the balls was never named, and the school said that he was acting alone, so Lane Kiffin was let off the hook for this, but the school was fined $25,000. And I almost forgot to mention, a few weeks before this, in a game against Colorado, Kiffin had his backup quarterback Cody Kessler and his punter Kyle Negrete switch jersey numbers on a special teams play in an apparent attempt to deceive Colorado on a 2-point conversion. Remember when Kiffin first got to USC and he said he was going to do everything clean? Well, this 2012 season, he's got a lot going on. And it would be one thing if they were winning, because they were projected to win a national championship this year, but they actually only finished 7-6 after starting off 6-1, going from preseason number 1 to unranked, which is the first time a team has done this since Ole Miss in 1964. Going into the 2013 season, word was getting out that Lane Kiffin's job at USC was on the line, but in August, right before the season started, the school's athletic director Pat Hayden came out and said that he wasn't on the hot seat and he was 100% behind Kiffin. Once the season started, USC would play their home opener versus Washington State, and towards the end of the game, you can hear the infamous "Fire Kiffin" chants coming from the crowd.
And that's Lane Kiffin. You know, we heard a lot of emotion from this crowd. And you look at what's happened here in this second half, a blocked field goal, a missed field goal, loss on downs.
And as you guys already know, once you hear that, it's pretty much over for you. The quote, offensive genius Lane Kiffin was struggling to get his team to put points on the board, and USC would lose this game 10-7, and as he was running through the tunnel after the game, the fans could be heard booing him.
We're getting used to playing on the road.
They would win their next 2 games at home, then on September 28th, they would travel to go face Arizona State in a Pac-12 matchup. It started out as a close game, with USC having the lead 21-20 in the third quarter. Then, suddenly, Arizona State blew the game wide open, scoring 28 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, quickly putting the game out of reach. Some Arizona State fans, enjoying the clinic that they were putting on, got a little petty, holding up signs that were suggesting that USC actually keep Lane Kiffin. But during this quarter, allegedly, the team athletic director Pat Hayden met with USC's president and had a serious talk about Kiffin's future with the team. USC would finally start to respond in the fourth quarter, putting a few touchdowns on the board, but they still couldn't slow the Sun Devils down, and the final score was a ridiculous 62-41. USC would get on the plane that night and head back to Los Angeles, and the plane would land at a private airport at about 3 a.m. Lane Kiffin and his team would get on the team bus, and as soon as he put his bag on the bus, someone came to get Kiffin and said that the athletic director wanted to talk to him. He went into an office right by the tarmac and talked to Pat Hayden, and there he was told that he was no longer the coach for USC. Kiffin tried to plead to keep his job, but it fell on deaf ears, and he allegedly was left by the team at the airport. They didn't even let him get his bag back. They had to mail it back to his house. The next day, Pat Hayden would speak to the media about why he fired him.
This morning, we got on our plane at about 1 o'clock. I told Lane I'd like to see him after we arrived back in Los Angeles. By the time Lane and I got together, it was close to 3 this morning. We met for about 45 minutes in a private room off where we at the airport where we landed. Lane was clearly disappointed. He's a great recruiter. He battled me. He really tried to keep his job, and I respect him for that. I would have respected him less if he didn't. But at the end of the day, as I said, I think it was the right decision. But at the end of the day, it just became a gut feeling that we weren't making the progress that I felt we needed to make, that I thought we should be making, and some of the inconsistency we found in our team. So, as I said, it's never the perfect time to do these things, but I thought it was the right time, and that's my job.
Not only was he fired from his dream job at USC, but he was pretty much embarrassed by them. He would later speak about how that was the lowest point of his career.
Your path has been very public. Everything you went through on the field, in coaching and personal life. What was the hardest part?
Got fired at USC because it was week 5. So like if you get fired at the end of the year, it's like, oh, you just get a new job. You get fired week 5, that's a lot of time. And you're watching that ticker and you're on there every day, you know, and then you gotta go to college game day and
Coach, it was a job.
Feinbaum's making fun of you. But no. It's not a job when that's your higher power. When that job is your higher power and it defines you because that's what you've put number 1 in your life, it ain't a job. It's like God to you. That's what it was to me, like my job in USC, like that's how I'm defined. If I get fired, everybody's looking at me like I'm a complete failure and I feel like a failure.
Yeah.
That's why I was off, obviously, because it was like I didn't, that's what I thought it was. Like, so when you put it up there, when that gets taken away, you're ready to crash.
Wow.
You guys see it all the time in professional players, man, because it's like, man, that's it, man. I'm defined by how many yards do I have on Sunday and what's my contract and everybody knowing me, and now all of a sudden that's taken away. So that was the hardest part for me, because it was like, you worked this time, you did all this, like, you get these head jobs, now like you're at USC, your dream job that you left another place for, a great place, and then, oh, we're gonna take this away from you. Scoreboard didn't go right that day. I couldn't make sense of it, because I had if you gave me a full roster and we didn't win as much as you want, that's okay. I can live with that, but it's like, I was this terrible coach all of a sudden, like nobody wanted to hire me. That's hard when that's what you've put your whole life into.
What personally does it do to you? Like, do you sleep? Do you, like, emotionally going through it where you're obviously a great coach, but somebody gives up on you again and again and again?
Yeah, the USC took a long time. That was hard because I had left Tennessee, left a really good job, really good people, really passionate program, and it was the one place I would leave for because USC was my dream job. And I had been there before with Coach Carroll, and we'd played 3 straight national championships and had 3 Heisman winners and won 34 straight games. So I had all these memories, and I was there from day 1 with Coach Carroll, so I knew how he did it. So I was like, I just can't turn this down and watch USC play on TV for years and go, man, what would have happened? So I go there, then they have the sanctions from Reggie, which I didn't know about, and we lose 30 scholarships. So then all of a sudden they say, okay, like you said, no, we don't want you anymore. Like, whoa, wait, like what happened to, I came here, you said just, you know, we know there's gonna be really bad seasons when you lose 30 scholarships in 2-year bowl bans, and just get us off probation. Just don't cheat, get us through probation, and then, you know, you'll have years of having full rosters. And then all of a sudden, to me, out of nowhere, maybe not to everybody else, we were 28-15 and 3-2, and I have no idea. Maybe I was naive. I had no idea it was coming until the tarmac conversation. And now what? Now I can't get a head job. So now it's like, I was here, I took this over here, and then everything just seems like it falls apart. I'm like, man, I can't get a head job. What am I gonna do? But here comes the call from Nick Saban. I don't get fired at USC, I never get to go work for Nick Saban and learn that way, which has made me a way better coach to be here today.
Lane Kiffin has now had 3 different head coaching jobs where he was fired from 2 of them and abandoned the other. His reputation took a hit at each location, and now it seemed like it would be hard for him to get another head coaching job, but he wanted to continue to coach. A few months later, on January 9, 2014, he would get a call from an old SEC foe, Nick Saban at Alabama, where he would offer him an offensive coordinator job. The next day, Lane Kiffin would accept. He would keep a low profile, not getting involved in any controversies during his time at Alabama. While he was there, over the next 3 seasons, they would win 3 straight SEC championships and 1 national championship in the 2015 season. Kiffin's 3 seasons of drama-free success at Alabama might have showed the world that he was ready for another shot at being a head coach, because on December 12, 2016, it was announced that he would become the head coach at Florida Atlantic University. The only problem here was, Alabama's season wasn't over yet. They still had a bowl game coming and a chance to play for the national championship. Kiffin was willing to finish the season out with Alabama, still coaching in the Peach Bowl victory against Washington on December 31st, but on January 2nd, a week before their national championship game against Clemson, Nick Saban announced that he was no longer going to allow Lane Kiffin to coach that last game. which they would end up losing, by the way. He made the decision because allegedly, after he accepted the job at Florida Atlantic leading up to the Peach Bowl game, Kiffin was coming late to several meetings and media events. He appeared to have one foot in and one foot out, so Nick Saban did him a favor and let him get an early start at his new job at Florida Atlantic. And I'm so glad Saban let him get that early start, because that same day, Kiffin rushed to Florida to film a legendary recruiting video that didn't seem very convincing.
Hey Owl Nation, this is Coach Kiffin. What an exciting time. Next week is National Signing Day. As we sign some of the best players in America, we need some of the best fans in America. So please join us next week for this exciting season to come watch the Owls have a great year in the championship run, starting with you. Go Owls.
Hey, you heard the man. Go Owls. Florida Atlantic wasn't one of the best programs, to say the least. Up to this point, they had never been ranked before, and they were just coming off a 3-9 season, but many people were considering this Kiffin's last chance at a head coaching job, so he knew this was a great opportunity to come and show that he's not the Lane Kiffin of the past, and also that he's more than just an offensive coordinator.
How surprised were people that you took that job, considering, you left Alabama and you were going to Florida Atlantic, and you probably had to explain what Florida Atlantic was and where it was?
Well, I think, for people that, looked at it, I think there was a lot of, oh, he's just trying to be a head coach again, so he's just taking any job. And it was not that at all, because I knew that, I'm not naive, that the next job that I take as a head coach, if I don't win, the storyline for my career probably is, oh, he's a good offensive coordinator and won a bunch of championships, scored a bunch of points, but he's not a good head coach, and that's probably your last shot. So when I looked at this job after meeting with them and meeting with the president who had come here from Clemson, they had a plan. They had a plan to give us, what we needed to build a championship program, and that's what we've done.
As soon as he came in, Florida Atlantic did a complete 180 in the first year, going 11-3 in 2017, making their first bowl game since 2008, beating Akron 50-3 in the Boca Raton Bowl. The next year, in 2018, Florida Atlantic will see a drop-off, going 5-7, then rebounded the following year, going 11-3 again. In his 3 seasons at FAU, he had 2 winning seasons, and before he got there, the school only had 3 winning seasons total in history. Lane Kiffin was pulling out all the stops to bring in wins. He even offered a scholarship to his former USC quarterback Matt Leinert's 11-year-old son, Cole Leinert. His reputation as a head coach was being built back up to a respectable level, and he was ready to take that next step back into the SEC when on December 9, 2019, he was hired as the new head coach for Ole Miss. Instead of Florida Atlantic being mad at Kiffin for leaving, they appreciated the fact that he turned their program around. I figure they already assumed he was using this job as a springboard to get back to relevance, which he did as he made his way back into coaching in the top conference. If getting back to relevance is what Lane Kiffin was after, it didn't take long for him to achieve that. His first season at Ole Miss in 2020 was okay, with them going 5-5, but by his second year, he would lead them to a 10-3 record, which was Ole Miss's first time ever winning 10 games in the regular season. During this season, he saw his return to Tennessee, his first game back there as a head coach, 11 years after he left them in the middle of the night, and Tennessee fans weren't kind to him. During his pregame interview, you can hear them booing him, and if you listen close in the background, they were chanting some not-so-nice words to him.
He's standing by with Cole Kublik. Coach Kiffin, you came out to a lot of boos. What sort of gives you comfort and calm when you come out to that kind of reception?
Matt Corral. I got you on that one. I was going to say popcorn.
I got mine ready. When you're gonna,
they like me a lot.
It doesn't feel like it, no. But you like when they don't like you, don't you?
It is what it is, man. These guys are passionate, great fans, electric crowd. This is college football, man.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck today.
Then, at the end of the game, when Ole Miss, who was up by 5, got the ball back with just under a minute left, the Tennessee fans began to riot, as we've seen that they're known to do. The game had to go on pause for a full 20 minutes. They were throwing anything that they can get their hands on onto the field, and someone even hit Kiffin with a golf ball, and several people ended up getting arrested.
The officials are holding play until the objects cease coming out of the stands, and a good chunk of the Ole Miss team is on the sideline, nearly on the field. Ole Miss having
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm on the Ole Miss sideline. I would not let my team be down here anymore. My team would not be on the sideline if I was down here.
While he was talking with the officials. Oop. Got him on the right elbow. Boy. I mean,
got to find a way to finish the last 54 seconds of this game.
The Tennessee cheerleaders are leaving the field.
They took some hits, I'm not going to lie. I was watching them.
Cole, when are they going to run out of ammunition here?
Doesn't feel like anytime soon because there's still water bottles coming out right now. This thing's coming out to midfield. Look right here.
It's not that it ever was funny, but it's beyond normal, and this is ridiculous.
Hey, my team's not safe. You need to end this game. We need to go in the locker room. I bet that's what he's saying. You don't know what can get thrown out of the stands, right? I mean,
and you jump up and you put them in cuffs. I'm guessing, that would curb the action real quick.
And there's some cops walking up into the stands right now. Yep. Yeah, they're grabbing a few kids right now.
Article 3 of the college football rule book, the referee may suspend the game temporarily when conditions warrant such action.
Of water bottles and debris all over the field. I mean, it is really a crazy scene when you look down there.
Who brings a bottle of mustard?
That's a guy.
I'm so glad he said that, because why are you bringing a bottle of mustard to a football game? Anyways, Ole Miss narrowly escaped this game with a victory, and the Tennessee fans weren't done, as when Lane Kiffin was getting a police escort through the tunnel, an object was thrown at him, and you could see him make a nice one-handed catch. You can also see that 11 years later, there was no love lost between Lane Kiffin and the University of Tennessee, but Kiffin never seemed to let that moment bother him, and he had a nonchalant attitude towards the whole ordeal, which pretty much sums up his whole career. Every time life tried to humble him, he bounced back, kept the same carefree attitude, and never lost his personality. It seemed like he got silenced for a little bit, but in his time at Ole Miss, the Lane Kiffin we all knew was back. Not the NCAA violation Lane Kiffin. I mean the Lane Kiffin that's always taking jabs at people, which nobody was safe from.
Kirby Smart, he's like born and raised SEC.
Oh yeah, he cuts his own hair.
It looks like it.
You're on a pretty famous text chain with other SEC coaches. This is alleged.
Yeah. Well, I got someone who does something, and then I move them out of the chat.
No.
Yeah. It's happened. Jimbo Fisher removed from chat.
R.I.P.
And then they'll put him back in.
Yeah. But and just put him on the bench.
And they're typical coaches. They don't know how to remove somebody or add somebody.
Oh yeah.
So it's pretty cool that I can do it. And they're like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Lane's one of them tech wizards. Yeah.
Coaches are a little behind time. That's a big deal to be able to remove somebody from chat. Whoa, he must really have somebody teaching him this stuff.
He took small shots at longtime college football announcer Paul Feinbaum for motivating Nick Saban every year.
That's why we have Feinbaum, so he can motivate him every other year and say, oh, his dynasty's over, and this is the end of Saban, and then we're like, hey, thanks a lot for pissing him off. And Paul's always wrong on this subject, so, and he just did it again the other day. If he doesn't make the playoffs, he's not any good as a coach. So thanks, Paul.
He took a shot at me in one of the radio rooms about me writing Nick Saban off. I mean, come on. Lane just has to find a target. So when you get him here in a few minutes, please give him my warmest greetings.
What do I got to do for you two to, what's going on here? How did this start?
I'm a Feinbaum guy, so I don't know why he's coming back. I was just stating the facts of what he does with Saban, and it doesn't help us. He just pisses Saban off because he says his dynasty's over every year, and that coach, when he loses all these players to the NFL and coaches, that it's over, and then coach goes and proves him wrong. So I don't know. I mean, they just told him he's to go over there yelling about losing 5 in a row. We lost 4 in a row, but I mean, come on, Paul, get your facts right before you take shots.
He took shots at Miami quarterback Carson Beck when he found out how much Miami was paying him.
Down in Miami, what's Carson Beck?
4.3 is the valuation.
million. I think my biggest year was 6. He's a college kid. So, like, you bring up the comparison of what they're doing. They're really getting NFL money.
Miami gave him $4.3 million.
That's what the evaluation says. Hey,
do they watch this game against us?
You don't have to be great, coach.
If you think it ends there, it doesn't. He even took jabs at his school's major sponsor, Coca-Cola.
Does anybody drink Coke? You realize that 130% of your sugar for the entire day is in this one bottle. 65 grams of sugar. A long time. I don't know. Chris Lowe drinks Coke, though. I do know that. All right. See you guys.
That is true. You do.
Nothing crazy, right? All harmless fun, and Lane Kiffin just being Lane Kiffin. No scandals. I mean, he might have told a player or two to lay down, fake an injury on the field so he doesn't have to waste a timeout.
Yes, now watch Lane Kiffin. Go down. Go down. Telling Jonathan Hess to take a seat instead of coming off the field. And there you go, Stitch. What's that about?
From Chuba Griffin. As you can see right in the middle of the screen. He's kind of grabbing it, and I'll just go down. Don't like seeing that.
Now they're getting close to field goal range, which would put it back to a two-score game. They want a touchdown. It's Kobe Hudson inside the 15.
Good protection. Play action pass. Three-man route. Hudson on the deep in route.
KD hit.
Like I said, Lane Kiffin just being Lane Kiffin. And while all this was happening, he was winning too. His first 5 years at Ole Miss, other than the 5-5 season in 2020, he had all winning seasons. And 3 of them were the best in Ole Miss history. Going into the 2025 season, Ole Miss will be ranked 21st in the AP preseason polls, but Lane Kiffin and the Running Rebels had other plans as they would look to surprise the nation. They were poised to have a great season, but along with success came a lot of desire for their controversial head coach, and they would take over national headlines. Since 2024, Lane Kiffin's name has been floating around in many rumors saying that he was going to leave Ole Miss for a bigger and better job. Him winning as much as he wasn't helping that case. Before the 2025 season began, Paul Feinbaum reported that Kiffin told him that he loves it at Ole Miss and he doesn't see him leaving right now. The season began and Ole Miss was making a statement, getting win after win after win, peaking at number 4 after a big win against LSU. They were on pace to have their best season in Ole Miss history. But the more they won, the more rumors were spread that other teams were looking to poach Kiffin as he became the hottest coaching name in college football. There were rumors that he might go to Alabama, Florida, and Penn State, who all had coaches on the hot seat. Then, in mid-October, both Penn State coach James Franklin and Florida coach Billy Napier were both fired, and these schools really began to target Kiffin. He was asked if he had any plans on leaving Ole Miss to coach Florida, and his answer was simply, he might could. Whatever that means. It started to look like he was having fun with the rumors, but he was leaving everybody, including Ole Miss, in the dark. On October 23rd, rumors started to get out that Florida went all in on Lane Kiffin, offering him a 6-year, $81 million deal, which would give him the highest annual salary in college football at $13.5 million a year. Florida never confirmed or denied the rumors, but just 2 days later, a move was made in the SEC that would put another candidate in the running for Lane Kiffin.
All right, this is another live shot at LSU, and that's what Mia was just telling you. Brian Kelly is at the office, the athletics department office, where he has just packed up his car with many of his personal belongings, and he is driving away. Mia Monet is out there live, and she's going to try to see if she can get a comment from the embattled coach. But this is at 5:06. You're looking at a live shot. Brian Kelly possibly leaving LSU for the last time this morning, collecting his belongings. Fired yesterday by athletics director Scott Woodward after that embarrassing loss to Texas A&M. Here comes the coach. He's driving up. He's going to go the other way. There's several ways you can get in and out of that office, athletic office, but you're seeing it live right here only on WBRZ and TuneIn.
What a sight to see.
On October 26th, LSU fired their head coach Brian Kelly after 4 years, and that same day, it was reported that now LSU has their name in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes. All these schools are just lining up for a chance to give him $13 million a year. All this while Ole Miss is now 8-1 and in a great position to make the college football playoffs for the first time ever. Their great season is being overlooked by the fact that every day they're hearing that their coach is about to leave them for another school. Kiffin discussed how he addresses all these distractions with his team and how he thought his players were dealing with it.
Big story coming out of this weekend. Not you guys getting a huge win over Oklahoma. Not Vandy obviously solidifying being a powerhouse at this point with all eyes on them getting a huge win over Missouri. The big story is obviously another coach fired at a massive place. Your name gets brought up for all of these things. How do you handle that with team? How do you talk about it? Because obviously you said they see everything. What is your kind of, communication with the team as all of this kind of is happening around you, Coach?
Yeah, I usually don't talk about it with the team because we've dealt with this for a number of years because our players have performed really well and won a lot of games here. And so this attention has come with that. I just thought last week it was important late in the week to address it on Friday just because we have so many new players. So they hadn't been here, the year or the year before that where, these job rumors and stuff would come up. And so I just told them, hey, this is a product of how you guys play is why they see the way that you play. So then people are like, fans are like, we want that system. And they say coach, but really it's the system of the players and the assistant coaches and what a good job they do. So I just told them that's a compliment to them. And I think it's easier for them nowadays because remember, basically the same thing happens to them. They have a good game. What happens? Our freshman receiver has a good game Saturday night. He's got 3 calls from places telling him, hey, come here, we'll give you more money, pre-portaling, before the portal opens. That's what happens. And so they deal with this all the time. Places saying, oh, come here, you'll get more money because they're performing well. So I don't think it's that big a deal to him.
Then he later mentions that his decision won't be based off how much money he's going to be offered, even though his agent, Jimmy Sexton, doesn't like when he says that.
Okay. I have never made a decision based off of money, nor will I. And
Love that.
For a lot of people, they're just like, well, money and it does this and does that. I've seen too many examples in life where money does not buy happiness. So I am never going to make a decision off of money, nor do I care about it. And
it's good to have.
Jimmy Sexton gets really mad when I say that.
For the month of November, Ole Miss would win 4 straight, getting their first 11-win regular season in school history. This was their best season ever, and they were primed for their first ever trip to the college football playoffs, but the circus surrounding Lane Kiffin was getting louder and louder. On November 21st, Keith Carter, the athletic director at Ole Miss, seemingly tired of Kiffin dragging his feet with the process, offered a contract extension that was said to be similar to the amount that Florida offered him, but he put out a statement saying that he expects Kiffin to make a decision right after the Friday, November 28th Egg Bowl game against Mississippi State. Ole Miss would end up winning that game 38-19, extending their record to 11-1, and right after the game, Lane Kiffin would confront an Ole Miss reporter and podcaster, Ben Garrett, who was frustrated with Kiffin not making a commitment, and he made a comment about him saying, "You can't turn a hoe into a housewife."
How can you draw any other conclusion after today and what we've known for 2 weeks other than Lane Kiffin is leaving and Ole Miss has made it very clear, both very publicly and also, through sourcing avenues that there's no scenario in which he coaches the playoffs. So I think the Egg Bowl is going to be the last game that Lane Kiffin coaches. And if it's not, okay, great. Because all Ole Miss has wanted this whole time is to just keep the successful, flourishing relationship going. And there's nothing they can give you. They've offered you everything that will make you satisfied or at least decent enough to say, man, this place has been awesome to me. Like, dude, it's done. People are done with the trolling. It's old. This whole situation reminds me of a Project Pat line. Do you know what that Project Pat line was? Do you even know who Project Pat is?
I know who it is. I don't know what the line is.
Project Pat's from 3-6 Mafia, right up in the road from here in New Albany, in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Hoes don't act right. And I feel it's appropriate because, tell me it's wrong. Like, dude, it is what it is. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Like, that's what's happened here.
We're going to end this on a 666 Mafia quote.
3-6, not 666. You're so white. But you get what I'm saying. Like,
So you want to walk in here and call me a hoe? We'll see how it goes.
That same day, Florida would announce that they were shifting their focus away from Lane Kiffin, saying that they, quote, sensed through irregular communication that he was interested in other options. More simply put, it sounds like he ghosted them. Now, his choices were narrowed down to staying at Ole Miss or going to LSU. On November 29th at 3 p.m., Lane Kiffin met with the Ole Miss athletic director and chancellor at the chancellor's house to discuss Kiffin's decision. He was seen leaving at 6:45 p.m., and reports would say that he had already made the decision to leave Ole Miss, but he wanted to at least coach them through the playoffs. That night, ESPN reporter Marty Smith, who has been chasing Kiffin around Mississippi for the entire weekend, told us that he texted him to see if there were any updates by the end of the night, to which Lane didn't respond.
Have you texted him yet to say, please do something, I've got to get home? Have you tried that one yet?
Let me see here. Hold on.
Oh, you're gonna do it now.
I wrote him at 8:46 Central Time and said, will there be a resolution tonight? Please, God in heaven, tell me yes.
You've tried, man. Great job by you, Marty.
He did not write me back on that one.
Go get some rest at some point. Thank you for all your work.
Ole Miss had a team meeting scheduled at 2 p.m. on Sunday, November 30th to let them know Kiffin's decision. All signs were pointing to him leaving the Running Rebels before the playoffs even began. Then, at 3:03 p.m., he would put out a tweet where he would announce that he made the decision to accept the head coaching job at LSU. He would also say that he wanted to coach the team through their playoff run, but the athletic director Keith Carter told him no, despite the whole team asking him to keep coaching. This is where Ole Miss players had a problem. The team's starting linebacker, Centurion Perkins, responded to Kiffin's tweet saying that he gave a whole different message in the meeting room, and the team can vouch for this. Then, starting center Bryson Sanders would respond to Lane Kiffin's tweet, basically saying that the team actually didn't want him to keep coaching. It's not that they didn't like Kiffin, but since he already accepted a job to coach a rival, the players and staff didn't want him to stick around and still coach them, which is understandable. By 4:30, a rack of clothes that were said to be Lane Kiffin's were seen out on the street in Oxford. At around 4:35, Marty Smith, the reporter who I said earlier was chasing Kiffin around literally all weekend for an interview, finally caught up with Lane Kiffin at a secret location right before he got on his plane.
And Lane is basically giving me the play-by-play on where he is, and we're wheeling this van.
That's right.
And we take a left. And when we take a left off this highway, there is all these fire trucks that have blocked off the road.
Oh, no.
There's firemen blocking the road. Well, I said to hell with it. We're Bo Duking this thing.
Hell yeah.
What?
So there's a field that I drove around the barricade, through all of this farm equipment. The van's bottoming out. We're bombing this thing through ditches, over the hill and through the woods to this road. And then I mat this van all the way up on top of the hill to the tarmac area. And there he stood, laughing his ass off. So he saw the whole thing.
I'll give you an interview.
And he's on the phone and he's like, bro, you really are Scooby-Doo. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. But you've just left your last meeting with the Ole Miss Rebels and you're getting ready to get on an airplane to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What is going through your mind right now?
Well, first I just watched you do something unbelievable and go off-road around the fire trucks to get here. So amazing job by you. You know that this was a very challenging, difficult day. You know, we went through a lot last night with Keith Carter trying to figure out a way, you know, to make this playoff, you know, run work and be able to coach the team. And at the end of the day, that's his decision. And I totally respect that. I understand that decision. And, you know, so I just totally wish the team the best of luck, wish that I was coaching, but understand that it was a very challenging position for him and the chancellor to be in, and totally respect it.
Why was LSU the right choice for you?
Yeah, just, you know, there was something in me. This was really hard. My heart was here, but I just, you know, I talked to some mentors, Coach Carroll, Coach Saban, and especially when Coach Carroll said, man, your dad would tell you to go, man, take the shot. Take the shot. You've accomplished a lot here. I always hated how we only gave 1 year to Tennessee and left. I really hated that feeling of that, even though it was an exciting year. But, I think that we gave a lot to this program and to the city, and, some of the most historic wins in this stadium we've ever had, and best regular season in the history of the school. So I feel proud of that part, but it just became time. I talked to God and he told me it's time to take a new step. It's a new chapter.
Some people will look at this and say, okay, it is the best season in the history of the school, the best era in the history of the program, a playoff team with an opportunity to win a national championship. So what does LSU offer in your mind that Ole Miss doesn't?
I don't know all that. It just was something that I prayed on and made a family decision. And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. But I think a lot of times, you just go prove things right. And that's what we're going to do when we get there.
I really hope ESPN gave Marty a raise after this. But anyways, at 4:51, Kiffin was seen at a tarmac getting ready to board a flight to Louisiana, and he was met by Ole Miss fans that were booing him nonstop. Ole Miss fans will be very vocal about his departure.
Now, with all the Lane Kiffin chaos, we hit the streets to hear what sports fans had to say. Take a listen.
I think as a fan of college football that we could probably see this coming from the very beginning, that, Coach Kiffin has a history of bouncing here and there and yonder. And one of my very dear friends, Ben Garrett, had something to say. He quoted Ludacris and said, you can't turn something into a housewife. And I guess Kiffin's not a housewife. That's Hail State.
Well, we haven't been in the playoffs for a while, and it's our first time being 11-1. So it doesn't really make sense. Like, he basically sabotaged us.
Well, first of all, I think everybody had a feeling it was coming. But you got to kind of feel for, your fans to support your team like that. Granted, I'm not an Ole Miss fan, but, you really hate to see people that, well, honestly, I got a lot of friends that, they follow them and follow them hard. So, but it's a lot of money invested, but it's a lot of money that you risk. It's just become a risk. But
it feels like he's betraying us, and he's only leaving for money. I don't like the fact that he's leaving because there's no sense in it, and it's like I don't like it because why?
After a rough day of him having a hostile farewell from Mississippi, and according to him, almost getting run off the road on his way to the airport, Lane would finally land in Louisiana. LSU signed him to a 7-year, $91 million deal, which is $13 million a year, giving him the second highest annual salary in college football. The next day, Kiffin had his introductory press conference at LSU, and he started off looking pretty nervous and tense. This could be because he knows now the pressure is on. About a month before this, when Brian Kelly wasn't winning, the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, got involved before Kelly got fired.
Look, my role is about the fiscal effect of firing a coach under a terrible contract. Okay, all I care about is what the taxpayers are going to be on the hook on. I was also not happy with the fact that we were raising ticket prices while we were having a losing season. And we were paying a coach $100 million, and we were not getting the results. Now look, I have no animus against Brian Kelly. I don't dislike Brian Kelly. I've eaten dinner with him. But I think that it had gotten to the point, and I think they realized that, that the spirit of the team needed a change. And so that change was made. And we're going to move on.
Well, now, Governor Jeff Landry is sitting front row watching Lane Kiffin's introductory press conference, so it's no wonder why Lane looks so nervous right here.
Thanks for everybody showing up. Thank you for believing in me. Let's go to work and go Tigers.
Or maybe it's just me, but I think he looks terrified. But as the press conference kept going, he began to loosen up and get back to normal. He even later made a joke about speaking to his good friend, former LSU coach and Louisiana native Ed Orgeron, about wanting to talk like him now.
I called one person. I called Ed Ogeron. And I said, hey, man, all I can do is, man, this place just makes me want to talk like you right now. I did. I was like, we were in the car, and the kids were in there, and I was like, and the coaches, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like channeling Ed right now. I was like, I'm feeling him. Like, I rolled down the window, and I was like, go Tigers to the fans.
Again, it could just be me, but I feel like this was a shot at Brian Kelly, because when he came to LSU, he was accused of talking with a fake Southern accent.
Well, this is a great way to get started, and I haven't even won all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family, and we are so excited to be in the great state of Louisiana, but more importantly, to be with you great fans.
Speaking of Brian Kelly, I don't know what it is about people getting hired at LSU and the use of the word alignment, but Lane Kiffin snuck a few of those in there too.
Alignment, that alignment, my family's alignment, an alignment.
And I felt that alignment was aligned. So once we felt this alignment and passion at LSU.
He saw what happened with LSU's last head coach, but he still stepped up and took the job, so hopefully he knows what he's in for. At the start of his career, people tried to label him a product of nepotism, and with the slow start, that criticism was appearing to be valid. But after being humiliated and exiled out of USC, he had to start over and work his way back up to being a head coach, and he proved that he could win at multiple locations and wound up securing one of the best jobs in college football at LSU. From his Raiders stint all the way up to when he got to Ole Miss, he never lived inside the margins. His antics rubbed people the wrong way early on, but he never wavered and always kept his edge, which is what makes him Lane Kiffin, and at this point, it's expected. He explains it perfectly here.
And I actually hope, it's like, I hope, if I have a legacy, part of my legacy for young coaches, it'll be like, hey, that guy showed you can actually have a personality and be yourself, and have fun instead of having to be so miserable and serious.
His career has been nothing short of controversial, and him leaving Ole Miss in almost the same manner he left Tennessee 15 years prior has him now being looked at like a villain. Ole Miss was 11-1 and heading into the playoffs, and before the playoffs even began, he left them for an LSU team that was 7-5, and one would have to wonder why he would do it, and if he made the right decision. Lane Kiffin isn't college football's most hated coach, but he's definitely its most unpredictable, and we're all just gonna have to wait and see how his time at LSU will unfold.